Well, greetings, everyone. How are we doing tonight?
Fantastic. Happy New
Really?
Year.
Doing good.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well. It's been a whole month since our last get together. We had a phenomenal conversation with Renee Arrington on board technology, and it was really great. We had quite a few folks view it, about 1,000 people, which is one of our best attended events. So it's awesome. So today we're joined by Brad Cope. Brad, how are you doing today?
Doing well, thank you.
Awesome. And Akshay Chopra.
Hey, Mike, how are you? I'm doing good.
Great.
First of all, wish you a happy new year to everyone.
Yeah, happy new year to you too. And Emily Bell-Wooten, her first time on as a member and our fractional chief marketing officer. So thanks for coming out, Emily.
Hey guys, happy New Year.
Keith is here from Advanced Net Labs and is going to show us a little bit of the beta that we're doing for the Work Ready, AITP Lone Star Work Ready assignment. How are you today?
Good evening, guys. Thanks for having me.
Did you make it back to Texas, or are you still in Boston?
I have made it back to Texas.
Very good. And
just
Brian
in time for the
Williams,
weather.
Yeah, exactly. We got some cold stuff coming to Flower Mound, right, Brian?
That's right. That's right. Snow next week.
Yep. How are you doing, Shankar?
Very good, Mike. Thanks, everyone. Happy New Year.
Thanks for coming for your second month. It's great to see you. And Harish Rajagopalan, you just got back from the city,
India.
right?
India and then New York. And just, yeah, you're right. Doing good, Mike, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well. Let me see. I'm trying to find my slides. Oh, they're there. All right. So what I would like to do, let's see, Akshay, you want to talk a little bit about what we are and what we provide to the ecosystem?
So, our ecosystem is nothing but a professional a network where we kind of meet every month on a third Thursday at 7 p.m. It's all about leadership, education, process, and technology innovation, and giving back to the community. And then we also have a partner events where we either meet in person and kind of discuss and network.
Absolutely. So we have some awesome announcements about partner events that are coming up after Brad is done and we've done Q&A and we get back to the business section of this meeting. I'm really excited, Brad, for you to come out. Are you excited about being here and are you ready?
I am excited and I am ready.
Awesome. All right, Brian, I think, did I ask you to cover mission tonight?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Sorry.
Our mission here with this AITP Lone Star is a fantastic mission to help provide, some superior leadership and education in the IT sector. This area has been a great career for myself and many others and many of you here. And it's dedicated to really utilizing that synergy with partnerships and vendors and customers alike, providing that education and benefits. Look, technology changes every day, and having partners and members such as here on this organization can help keep up to date with the way technology is changing and building that relationship and the promoting of IT technology and solutions that we all use every day. So it's a great mission, a great opportunity to be engaged in something that you can learn from every day.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Brian. Harish, you and I talked a little bit about this. Are you able to talk a little bit about the membership levels that we're contemplating for 2025?
Absolutely. And this is an updated slide, everyone. So we have done some changes in the membership levels. So anyone who's following us on LinkedIn or Facebook or any of the YouTube channels will be a casual member who can be participative in the monthly chapter meetings. Then we have a membership who joins our AITP Lone Star, who's applied and been accepted. We'll also have the membership benefits. They'll be able to join the meetups. They'll also be able to come into some of the events, which Mike is going to talk about soon. Then we have a volunteer membership as well as sponsors who will become a member in our community as well. Then we have the board members who's also part of the membership. Some of them will have functions, offices, some of them at large. So that's kind of the 4 level of memberships we have. And if you'd like to become a member, I always say in every month that everybody drinks coffee, and it's about less than $100 a year, and it's $6.99 a month, 2 Starbucks coffee probably. So I would encourage everybody to join membership and make use of networking, learning, and growing as well as part of this community. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Harish. I failed because we have a brand new year this year. We have a new title sponsor. So we're going to hear from Keith a little later, but we have a co-sponsor. So AITP Lone Star chapter is who we are, but we are title sponsored by AdvancedNet Labs with the AITP Lone Star Work Ready Academy. And that Work Ready Academy, which Keith will show after Brad has finished speaking, is one of the major benefits for membership that we're offering this year. So please stay tuned throughout the whole meeting and hear a little bit more about that later. I put a slide together because, a chapter is really people at the core. And the coolest thing about this is over the last couple of months, we've grown. Right? We've grown both in membership and in people that are willing to step up and become a part of the great team. So Bill Fly, he's a member at large. He's the former chapter, region, and national president, 50 plus years now of membership. Harish has been around for 15 years or so. Brian Williams joined us last year, and this year is going to help us get our foundational documents set up with the state of Texas. Because we're just about to the threshold of 50 actual members where we can join the AITP organization. Akshay Chopra is a member at large, and I'm the president. We are joined tonight by 2 volunteer members. Emily Bell-Wooten and I have known each other for quite a few years here in the DFW area. She's a marketing extraordinaire, and I'm happy to announce that she's joining as a member and our fractional chief marketing officer. Shankar Subramanian, you heard from earlier, is a board candidate, and we like to try people out before we get them on the board. I'm just kidding, Shankar. But he's going to help us with our member technology. So we're giving him the title of member technology officer, and that's really our membership site so that we can spread the load across multiple groups and individuals. So thank you very much, Shankar, for that. With this new year as well in 2025, we have multiple sponsors that are joining us. I already talked about Keith Thode and the AdvancedNet Labs organization as our title sponsor. Karthik, how do you pronounce his last name, Shankar?
Pichai.
Karthik
Pichai.
Pichai.
Pichai. Okay, so I met Karthik last week. Karthik has a company called Augusta High Tech. He's joining us as a gold sponsor and is going to be doing quarterly networking meetings. So we'll get into more details on that later. Elevate IT has been a partner since the beginning of Elevate IT, of almost 8 years ago. They give us free access to the Dallas and Houston Elevate IT events, which is worth about $199. And then they also are providing discounts to CruiseCon. So if you're a security individual and you'd like to go on a cruise and get taught and get credit for getting taught, that's an excellent opportunity. We'll talk about more details later, but you get a 20% discount through Elevate IT. So we appreciate Casey. As I already said, we are providing, Emily Bell-Wooten, sorry, Emily, the EBW threw me for a second, and I forgot to put your name in there. But her organization is providing fractional CMO services to us, which is one of the things that she does in the marketplace. Job Seeker Pro, that's Brian Howard, has Job Seeker Pro resources. and he also helps us with marketing lift. I'm going to see if I can get rid of this. I cannot read the third one. Can anybody read that for me, please? It's covered up by the slide. Brian?
Yeah, the third one is leadership Yan, the free member and member company, cultural maturity model analysis.
Okay, thanks. That's mine. So basically, I'll do a free analysis of any member or member company, and I lead marketing and event production. And then we have ThemeSoft, which is Akshay's company, and they are a silver partner providing quarterly networking meetings. And we'll get into the details later. So I think we're going to have Akshay doing second month of each quarter, and then Augusta is going to do third month of each quarter. So we almost have 2 events per month already this year. So that's really exciting. So I'd like everybody to give everybody a round of applause, and thank you very much for being here tonight. All right. So I've had the pleasure of knowing Brad for many years now. And he actually has spoken, I think, at AITP before. He's also done a long form podcast with me, which I will republish tomorrow on my LinkedIn if you're interested in a long and winding conversation about philosophy and all kinds of wonderful things. But he's a salt of the earth guy, and I really enjoy his company. So, Brad, thank you very much for joining us to kick off our 2025. I do have a bio as well, and I'm going to read it to you. So, Brad Cope is a creative and data-driven marketing leader, content engine, and Brad advocate. The creativity started in a previous life in an award-winning editor and writer for national consumer magazines, including the 3.2 million reader Southwest Airlines magazine. You know, that little company here in Dallas. The data piece began more than a decade ago through ROI dashboards fortified by all aspects of digital marketing: video, SEO, SEM, social media, marketing automation, email, gamification, virtual reality, and more. Merging creativity and data solved a variety of problems at B2B, B2C, and B2G companies in multiple industries. What is B2G?
Business to government.
Okay. Thank you. For the $500 million B2B and B2G healthcare SaaS and IT company HMS, it meant engaging advertising that boosted brand awareness metrics by 35% in 1 year. For Fidelity Investments, Panera Bread, and T. Rowe Price, it required B2C content that attracted customers. For the B2B concierge technology services company, Level Legal, it meant multi-touch campaigns and strong trade show execution that increased lead generation by 30%. For 5 companies, it looked a whole lot like a whole new brand. He has held several senior level marketing and communication roles at Level Legal, Veritas Corporation, Aperture Health, Medicision, Crown Aesthetics, Bellis Medical, HMS, Interstate Batteries, as well as heading up Brad Cope Communications. Cope is a 2-time winner of the Gold Quill from the International Association of Business Communicators and a 4-time Dallas-Fort Worth American Marketing Association Marketer of the Year. He's also a professional certified marketer in marketing management from American Marketing Association. In his spare time, he tinkers with his decade-old sports coupe, stays in touch with his grown-up twins, travels the world with his wife, and reads about world travel. Well, awesome, Brad. We are really appreciative of you coming out tonight. I'm going to bring your slides out, and then we're going to go away, and you are good to go.
Great. Fantastic. Well, thank you, Mike. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak to AITP and to all those gathered here. It's an honor to speak to this group, and appreciate this opportunity to share what is out there for marketing and AI. The topic really started a few years ago. I was talking with an IT professional who was an SME for a webinar that he and I were working on together. And it was about the time that ChatGPT came out. And we were kind of going back and forth. And one of the things he said that he was worried about was what he called shadow IT. So this is IT that's not sanctioned by the companies that are there, but happen on people's personal devices or on platforms that they may not even be aware of. And then he got up in arms about ChatGPT because he said that he had heard about people taking proprietary data and just pasting it into ChatGPT. And he said, I still remember, and that's a breach right there, because the ChatGPT, at least they have access to that data, much less if someone else were to search for it as well. And so I realized at the time that I needed to get with my marketing team and make sure that we were using ChatGPT the right way. So times have certainly changed over the last few years, especially with marketing AI. And what this presentation is intended to do is to get IT people and marketing people aligned with what's going on in marketing for good reasons. And they're all good reasons, but for things that are for promising things, but also to avoid some problems, as you'll see later. And so that's why we titled it, Did AI Write This Blurb? What IT Needs to Know About Artificial Intelligence in Marketing. So let's go ahead and get started. So you've already met me because you heard a little bit from Mike about my background, but I'll also talk about what I'm not. So one thing that I'm not is a legal expert. We'll talk a lot about the law. That's one of the things that we're going to get into. But of course, with any kind of legal advice, you definitely want to go to your in-house counsel. You want to go to your outside counsel to get the best advice, the most up-to-date advice you possibly can. So not a legal expert. Second thing is I'm not an IT expert. I understand with these concepts, they go a lot deeper than what we're going to cover in the next 30 minutes or so. So for instance, I divide AI into predictive and generative AI, but someone in IT might say, well, I'd like to think of it as weak, general, and strong AI. There are a lot of different ways to think about it than the way that we're going to do it, and that's fine. The third thing you need to know is that I'm not even a marketing AI expert, because it's impossible to be a marketing AI expert completely. You'll see in a few minutes some of the ways that marketing has been touched by AI, and it's a lot more than ChatGPT, a lot more than you may even be thinking. So keep an eye out for that. And I see in the notes over here, just feel free to ask any questions here that you've got. We'll definitely take those at the end. What I am is a marketer who likes to take a lot of concepts and make them digestible for people so that they can be useful. And my hope is from this presentation that you'll learn something from it, that there will be some news here that you haven't heard before, and that you'll laugh, because I think that some of the funniest things that I've heard about in marketing have had to do with AI, and we'll tell a few of those stories tonight. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. What are the key takeaways? We're marketers here, right? And so we always talk about the benefits. The benefits of listening to this presentation are you're going to learn how to be more effective, help your marketing team be more effective, because you'll be more transparent with what you're doing. You'll learn how to protect your organization. Probably many of you are already doing this, but you'll have a better idea about what's going on. There's an ethical component, of course, to AI, and we'll discuss that and what are the latest things you need to know. And we'll camp out on compliance, because there are some new things going on that are above and beyond things you probably have heard before, like their GDPR is familiar, it's been around, but now there's a new AI bill that just came out of Europe that you need to be aware of. So we'll talk a little bit about that too. Okay. So next thing we're going to talk about is what we're going to cover. So what you're going to see here is AI in action, ethical AI use, AI in the law. I'm trying to keep all of the examples and information I'm giving to the most recent things that I could possibly find. These are the stops along the way. But before we jump in, there's going to be a little bit of a test, and that's the next slide. All right, so here's your test. The test is, and you'll see the bottom line of this slide is saying, hey, if you're wondering if AI wrote this blurb, the answer is yes and no. So my test for you is taking a look at the blurb for this presentation. What do you think that I used AI for, and what do you think that I did myself? So take a second, look through it in your mind, be thinking about, I bet this is AI, or I would guess that Brad did this. Okay, let's go to the next slide. The answer is everything that you see that is yellow, I used AI for. So the lead to the blurb, and then also some of the basic structure of the presentation. AI is fantastic. Gen AI in particular is fantastic with things like outlines. What I will say is that the more creative side, it tends not to do as well with. So you can see there's a lot of white space there that I did myself. One thing is I changed the scope. AI was recommending Gen AI in action, and you'll see that we're not just doing Gen AI, we're doing AI. And that's because looking at the material, there was no way to just leave out predictive AI. It's too important for marketing. So that was one tweak that we've made. If we have some time at the end, ask me for some insider tips about how to tell if somebody is using AI, Gen AI, for their content. There's some fun and easy ways to see if that's going on, just so that you can be put in a picture. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so the first thing is AI in action. A while back, I got a surprising introduction to the scope of AI. So marketers love personas. And so what personas are descriptions of our ideal customers, users, influencers, and they often have names like Big Brad or Mad Mike or whoever. It's supposed to describe a certain kind of person that is either a user or an influencer or a buyer of your product. The way that they typically work is that there will be a lot of things on that page about that persona. It's what are the things they really care about? What are the things that keep them up at night? Where do they get their information? How much money do they make? All of that. And so the best way to get personas is to have them done through research. You don't just ask the sales team, hey, what about our customer in this world? Ideally, you go out and you find out the answers yourself. Well, just on a whim, a couple of years ago, I went to HubSpot's AI program and asked it to develop a persona. That was the prompt for our ideal customer profile, ICP. And out popped this answer that was almost completely identical to the one that we had done all this research on. The only thing that was off was how much money that this particular type of person would make. So the difference was weeks of work versus a few seconds in HubSpot, and it was almost the same output. So that's not creative, right? You would never show a persona outside of the walls of your building, but it's marketing because you try to drive all of your content to the right audience, knowing what you wanted to do with that. So that was a surprise to me. So what we want to do here is to take a look at what marketers are up to these days. And to get to that, let's take a look at the next slide. It's this basic division I mentioned before, which is, at least to us, a predictive AI versus generative AI. For everybody on this call, this is probably old hat. So predictive being historical data that forecast future events. Use cases in marketing are things like I mentioned, personas, customer segmentation, lead scoring, that'll come up in a minute, customer lifetime value modeling. Generative AI, that's when existing data pops up new content. So you'll see things there, of course, like content creation, chatbots, who are kind of a villain of this presentation, social media, email, images, video, that's also part of it. So you're going to hear a lot about those two things. But for now, let's go to the next one to give you a couple of examples. First, we want to take a look at why marketing. The idea here is that we could talk about anything, but if you think about with marketing how popular AI is in the space, it's extremely popular. You can see from this statistic that just a few months ago, 90% of marketers are using AI, generative AI, in some way at work. So whether you're aware of it or not, there's a lot of AI that's going on, and you definitely want to be aware of it. Now, the next slide is going to take us into those two divisions. Just wanted to give sort of a flavor of when we're saying predictive AI, what are we talking about? So predictive AI, there's a company called ScaleOps, which is a partner of HubSpot. It's kind of an API plugin that you can do to HubSpot. And for those who don't know, HubSpot is a CRM marketing automation tool similar to Pardot, similar to Marketo, has a lot of plugins like ScaleOps. Well, normally with lead scoring, the old way of doing it was someone like me in marketing, the head of sales would sit down and we would say, well, okay, let's score different digital behaviors so we can say when we think this person is actually a lead that the sales team needs to take over. And it was pretty rudimentary. It would be so-and-so opened up an email. Well, that's a point. So-and-so came to a webinar. Well, that's 10 points. And then, okay, 35 points shows a lot of action. Let's have the sales team reach out to the person for that. Well, that, it's better than nothing. Otherwise, you wouldn't even know that somebody was interested in your organization who hadn't filled out a form or come up to you at your booth. Well, now with ScaleOps, they look at the activities of people online, and they can tell which ones are more likely to lead to sales because it's connected to your CRM, and can say, well, okay, based on that, we can predict the people that are in your CRM now who are going to likely follow that path and put a spotlight on those people and score them that way. So it's based on actual data instead of guesswork, which was the old way. So now we're in this new world. Let's take a look at the next slide. All right, generative AI. This is one of my favorites. This is one that it is a little bit older, but I like it so much I can't help it. Another thing that marketers love to do is to send out communications after a purchase has taken place. And Carvana came up with a really creative way to do that. The old way was, say, they would send an animated video to just everybody who had bought a car from Carvana. Well, the new way is to have a personalized video, a Carvana Joyride, that is sent to each individual person. So what they did is they knew the name of the customer, they knew the kind of car that the customer had bought, the color of the car, the day the car had been bought, where the car had been bought. So they fed all that into a number of AI systems. What kind of systems? A voiceover system, and there's AI for voices, a voiceover system, a content system, an animation system. And they put that all together, added a few other details like, well, okay, what was hot at the time? Things like if it was a certain day, like National Coffee Day, then they found a way to weave that into the video, and then out pops the video. So what you're looking at on your screen are screenshots of one that they did for a person who had bought a blue bug. Let's say her name is Sarah, and she was in Arizona, and she bought it on September 29th. And this video would come to Sarah, and it was 30 minutes or 30 seconds of someone saying, Sarah, it's been great. Ever since September 29th, we've been together, zooming through the hills or in and around Arizona, and on and on and on. And it was all tailored to Sarah's experience. The thing to know about that is that the technology that they were using could render 300,000 personalized videos per hour. So if you can imagine trying to get a creative team to be that drilled down, it would be nearly impossible. But thanks to AI, with generative AI in particular, Carvana was able to create this joyride that was individualized for every single person. Okay, so that's a couple of examples for the main two areas of AI. What we're going to do now is go on to take a look at the next use case slide. So this slide is the one to zero in on. These are all the different things that marketers do with AI based on a survey. So of course you see content creation, you would expect that. Ad copywriting, you would expect that. Personalization, so remember the ScaleOps, that's them. Segmentation, chatbots, again, it's going to come back. So these are the kind of things that are going on. Let's take a look at the next slide. And here's one that we'll save for later. I'll put this into LinkedIn. What you're seeing are a number of different things that marketers can do. I'd mentioned earlier how surprising it is that how much there is going on. Everybody knows about content creation. There's ChatGPT, of course, there's Jasper. Everybody knows about image creation. There's Midjourney. But things like predictive analytics. Now, Pecan AI is more of a B2C play, or business to business, or business to consumer play than business to business play. But that's what they do. Interesting other things that are going on here. Fathom, for instance, I had a meeting with an advisor, kind of one of these advisors for your career. He put on Fathom as a transcription service, and then after we were done talking, into my inbox popped this email that was a great distillation of everything that we had talked about. Took better notes than I could have taken. So this is not the kind of thing that you're going to memorize right now, but these are some names you're going to want to know, and the kind of things that marketers can do now with AI. So let's take a look at the next one. Okay, so here's a thrilling thought. We've all heard of AI hallucinations. You might wonder, and that's when AI dreams up things that don't exist. It truly are hallucinations. You might wonder, how often does this happen? So we've got two experts here. Duncan works for an AI company, and he says, the top Gen AI models hallucinate 2.5% of the time. Well, then you've got Wintig, who's at Cornell, saying, no, it's more like 35%. So if you think about the delta between those two, either one of them is kind of alarming from an accuracy perspective. And so when we say AI in action, we're talking about protecting your brand from saying things, doing things that might be unhelpful to you. One of the problems here is that AI can be either black box or white box. And by that, we mean input can go into AI, but there's no understanding of what came out, where it came from. And a perfect example of that is that there was an experience in Glasgow, Scotland, that this organization created for Willy Wonka's Chocolate World. This was last year, and started shooting out ads for people to go to this place in Willy Wonka's Chocolate World. So parents got excited, kids got excited, and then they showed up, and it was like an old spirit Halloween store with a couple of characters and some lollipops. And what had happened was the company, House of Illuminati is what it's called, is that it just used AI to spit out ads to everybody in its network, and then caused all this problem. And so one of the parents that came said, quote, there was maybe 20 chairs, a couple of tables, and a half inflated bouncy castle. So that's the kind of thing you have to be watching out for with AI, which leads to our first of 4 takeaways. So here we go. Next slide. Takeaway number 1, boost effectiveness through transparency. One way to do that is through explainable AI models, XAI. So those are white box models, and examples that pertain would be Writer is a Gen AI program that is a white box as opposed to ChatGPT's base level, black box. IBM Watson Studio, white box versus HubSpot's for segmentation, which is black box. Create an AI oversight committee. I'm sure a number of you already do this, that there's a committee that stands that vets new technology that comes in and monitors what's already being used to make sure that it's keeping up to the standards, to make sure that your brand is not going to come off saying ridiculous things or inaccurate things. And that's takeaway number 1. Okay, let's take the next slide. 11%. This is another problem. 11% of data employees paste into ChatGPT, is confidential. That is a scary idea, but it's not too far off the mark if you've been following the news. The example here is from Samsung, and what some Samsung software engineers did is they took code, which is proprietary code, and put it into ChatGPT. This was in May of 2023. Of course, that's a problem. You remember my original story. The IT person is pointing out, well, that's a breach. Another way it's a problem is if someone were to ask for that, not working for OpenAI, but anywhere, they could get that code. If somebody put in my or your health information, they could say, how good is Brad Cope's health? And then the answer could come from ChatGPT, which would be an accurate and HIPAA scary answer about what's out there. So you need to be careful about that, which leads to takeaway number 2, which is you need to guard against intellectual property theft. This is your company's gold. You don't want to give away that golden goose. So what can you do? Create policies for AI use and train the organization. Use walled gardens is another expression for Gen AI. An example of that would be ChatGPT Enterprise. So they say that number one, that data doesn't go out to anybody else. It's a walled garden. And number two, they don't train their models on that data. So according to them, that's a place where you could safely put it. And then other things are, and this is just IT governance 101, that you tag data appropriately for permission levels and sensitivity levels. One thing that stood out is you can't say everything is sensitive because if everything is sensitive, then nothing is sensitive. Okay, let's go on to the next section. Here we go. Ethical AI use. So we're not to the law yet. We're in ethics. Now, you probably, if you still have a break room, you probably have something there with a poster that says integrity on the wall, and it shows people climbing a mountain or something. My last organization had a really good slogan, which was get it done right. I like that a lot better than the posters that are out there. So this section is about not what's doing what's legal, but doing what's moral as an organization. So let's take a look at how that went off the rails a few different ways. Okay, what do all these people have in common? They were all bent out of shape by AI run amok. DPT is one of my favorites. So this is a French version of FedEx. They trained a chatbot. Remember, I said chatbots would come up to do customer service. But the chatbot was, it could be influenced by the kind of questions it was being asked. The kind of questions it would be asked finally got it to the point to where it was insulting customers and cursing out customers. They took some screenshots and eventually had to bring that down. So it's known as the cursing chatbot. You might wonder where Alexa came in. You probably recall we had an election a couple of months ago. Well, before the election, if you asked Alexa, so that's the little box, and that answers questions for you from Amazon. If you'd have said, why should I vote for Kamala Harris? Then Alexa piped up with a really good answer. If you asked, why should I vote for Donald Trump? It was crickets. So of course, Republicans were a little bit upset about this. And it was a black eye for Alexa. And then finally they said, well, it was a coding error. And they got that squared away. But not good for your brand to have things like that happening. Now, Instagram, the logo at the bottom, involves James McAvoy, Julianne Moore, and Tom Brady, because Instagram, it was a scam that was perpetrated that used AI, reached out to people, including celebrities, and said, if you put this little phrase into Instagram, well, then Meta cannot use your data. It's completely false. You had no connection with Instagram whatsoever, but because of AI, was able to quickly generate into a number of different instances there. So these are all examples of AI, run amok, which leads to the third takeaway. So let's go there. Stick to your organization's core values. You do have integrity. You do want to live that way. Beware the chatbots. For instance, HubSpot, as far as I know, as of this time, does not have the walled garden concept. Update your policies to exclude bias and deep fakes in marketing. A lot of times those policies are just gathering dust. No one pays attention to what the privacy policy says on the website, but technology is way beyond what was written a few years ago. And finally, provide some training. Lots of new issues come up, things that we're talking about tonight. We weren't talking about 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, and you have to stay current. Okay, so now let's go to the last section. This is AI and the law. So this one can get you fined. So you want to sit up and see what's up. Some of it's old news, and we'll go through that pretty quickly. So for instance, the next section. So this is the Federal Trade Commission. I went back and I looked at the 2024 Federal Trade Commission actions based on AI. What are the themes that came out? Here they are. Slipping AI into privacy policies without telling people. So the company's using AI and it recognizes it needs to change its privacy policy, but it doesn't make that obvious to people who are their customers. Providing false and deceptive reviews. There was an organization in particular that did that spread a bunch of reviews out on social media, which were just completely made up. lying about the use of AI and technology. This was a good one. There's a company called Do Not Pay, which said they had an AI lawyer, but they didn't use AI at all. FTC got wind of it, and it's just dishonest. Think about that the next time you go around to a trade show and it's got this booth says AI and that booth says AI. How many of them are actually using AI? It could be a problem if it's just exaggeration. And then finally, advertising risk-free things. So of course, advertising is marketing, and say that, well, it's risk-free due to AI. And there was an investment company that came crossways with the FTC because of that. So some things to keep in mind that are relatively new and AI oriented. Okay, let's go to another one that people know. CCC or CCPA, California Consumer Privacy Act. Those Californians, they're always up to something, making us do more things, but these things are good. So for instance, you want to be able to opt out of using your data. Customers have to have the access and ability to access and delete their data. They need to know where their data is being used and be able to see what's going on. Now, what's interesting about that's been around since 2020, but now there is a proposed update to the CCPA that does involve AI, and this is breaking news. This could happen as soon as early this year. So we're not ready for GDPR yet. It's still back. Yeah, this is California. And what it's related to is automated decision-making technology. So these are things like financial services or housing or insurance. When you submit your information and it tells you, kind of slots you into certain rankings. Well, the marketing perspective of that is that the marketing implication, I should say, is that you have to disclose to people if you're using AI in any of these functions. You can see why the Californians would be up in arms about this, because the kind of place where the investments you can get or where you can live or the education you get, very important. That's why they're taking a close look at that. So you want to watch the news, just make sure that if it passes, there might be some things that you would have to change in your operations. Okay, let's go to the next one. And I'm trying to go fast so we can get to the end and have some time for questions. So GDPR, another one that people are familiar with. This one's been around for 6 years. These are things that marketers and IT people know. User consent, the right to be forgotten, full transparency, data minimization. Like the California piece, if you have customers or do business in California, it applies to you. If you have customers or do business in Europe, which is where this comes from, it applies to you. In fact, it's so common that now technology like Marketo, which is another marketing automation program, it'll say, would you like for this to be GDPR compliant? Click, and then everything downstream of that is intended to make all of this stuff happen. So all of this applies, but you definitely want to keep it in mind. Let's take a look at the new one. All right, here's the news. The European Union Artificial Intelligence Act. This just came out this last year. What's interesting about it is that it's again, like GDPR, it still applies to companies with customers who are doing business in Europe. So it does apply. The thing, though, to keep in mind is that it's mostly targeted toward AI developers. So if your organization is not creating AI, it's not as much of an issue for you. If you're only deploying AI, then there's less room lower levels of scrutiny. And the scrutiny are tied to these different levels of risk that you can see on this pyramid: unacceptable, high, limited, minimal risk. And you might wonder, well, how does this apply to marketing? Well, some of it applies to marketing because, again, there's a component of it where you have to disclose that you're using AI to customers, right? Things like high risk would be things like critical infrastructure, systems of hiring processes, credit scoring systems. Those are all high risk things. It's kind of that same mentality that the Californians have, but applied to Europe and then making its way over to us. Most of this is already passed, but it's not completely applicable yet. It's going to be fully applicable by August. So this is one that you definitely want to get with your attorneys if you haven't grappled with this yet. and make sure that you're on the right side of the law, which takes us to the last takeaway. Stay on the right side of the law. You want to revisit your compliance with the way FTC is looking at the law related to AI, CCPA, and then GDPR. Then the draft rules that I mentioned, the ones that are about the automated technology, monitor what happens to that. That should be coming out in the next few months or so. And that's about automated decision-making technology. And then finally, you want to be transparent with your use of AI systems, of outputs to users. That's the marketing dimension of it. That tends to be a theme for all of this. Now let's go on to the last part. Okay, so key takeaways, we're going to revisit that. What I hope that you got out of this, along with a few laughs about some of the crazy AI things, is that to protect your business, you want to be effective. Then this is one of the ways to guard against intellectual property theft, not just let everybody go crazy with ChatGPT, to be ethical, make sure that your systems are free of bias, and to be compliant, because what qualifies as compliant is changing by the day. Okay, then one last thing before we go to questions. Just as a final note, one of the things that I've noticed that's exciting to me from a marketing perspective is that there's a technology that creates personalized email newsletters called rasa.io, so rasa.io. And the idea behind it is that it can tell what I'm interested in versus what Mike's interested in based on the things I click on from previous newsletters, so that I would get a newsletter that would be completely different than his, that would be tailored to me thanks to AI. But I hope now at the end of this presentation that if you heard your marketer come up to you and say these things to you, like he's excited, like I am, the things you'd want to know are, well, you know, is this an explainable AI model, or is it a black box? Was it cleared with the AI oversight committee? Is the data in a walled garden, or is it out in the world? Is it correctly tagged, the data that enters my organization? Has the privacy policy been updated so that people know that the newsletter that they're getting is being based on AI configurations? Can they opt out of it? Can they access the data? Can they delete the data? All of that. And definitely keep an eye on California, because that's where a lot of things start. So thank you for your time, and let's see what some questions are.
All right. Well, awesome, Brad. Thank you very much. I do have a couple of questions. So Harish, I think, is back. Let's see. Do we have everybody else back at the stage? Okay. I think everybody's here. Harish had a really great question. Harish, you want to ask that question?
Sure. Thanks, Mike. So Brad, great presentation, first of all, and good way to start the 2025 with the AIS. Every of the enterprise customers is looking at AI, how to leverage, right, from customer service to, from a retail standpoint, shopper assistance to, even the back end of it, the supply chain solutions and all of that. So I keep talking about those, or hearing those from many of my customers. But anyways, my question is, I heard Fathom from you that you will it record the conversation, because let's say if I'm getting into a Teams meeting, customer, if I have to record, I have to ask their permission. Is this the same, or otherwise there is a legal implication if somebody's not wanting you to record? How does this work? Just curious from that perspective, Brad.
Right. You're absolutely right that if you're going to record a conversation, you should always clear it with the other person. So the example that I used with this advisor, a career advisor, as he was coming on, he said, "Is it okay if I turn Fathom on?" And I said, "Sure." And then was very impressed at the end with the kind of Fathom listened to an hour-long conversation, and then different parts of it. We each one of us had different action items, but Fathom found those and gathered them up so that it had, here are the bullet points of the conversation, Steve said he was going to do these 3 things. Brad said he was going to do these 4 things, and it was right. So I was very impressed with the accuracy of it. But from a legal perspective, you definitely need to ask. And then it's another thing to take up with your in-house counsel, because if you think about that, well, Teams will do this too. It'll record and turn things into transcripts. That's more and more data that's out there. And both your in-house counsel and whoever is your data management guru is going to want to know where is that information?
Right.
Is it safe? Was it legal for us to even get that information? So that's a great question.
Thanks, Brad.
So Brad, just quickly, do you really trust the walled garden is a walled garden?
Yeah, you may have heard me kind of hedge in my language about ChatGPT Enterprise. And that's not, I don't know anything about ChatGPT Enterprise that would make me say that it's not. But there are a number of things that I think we just need to be cautious about until there's been some more water under the bridge.
Sure.
A lot of claims are made, especially related to technology. Everyone on this call knows that, where things are inflated. Oh, we can do that. And then the next thing you know, it doesn't do that, or it's out in the world. I wouldn't count on that until I had heard a lot more detail about how do we know that it's enclosed? How are you sure that even your employees don't have access to this? I wouldn't just take it at face value.
Absolutely. Thank you. Keith has a really good question as well. Keith?
Hey, it was, first of all, the talk has been fantastic. But you had talked about the regulations and the AI developer versus an AI deployer. And I always joke that nobody programs anything anymore. They steal it all from somewhere, right? So if we're cobbling together, if we're building together solutions that include an AI component that we didn't develop, but we take that and we train it and we curate it and we wrap it in our product that we sell to other organizations to then go deploy, are we a developer or are we a deployer?
Yeah, that's a good question. Now, I'm going off of what I've seen related to the EU law, and it was a little bit vague on this point because some of them were obvious. ChatGPT is obviously a developer, but then the way they describe, some people use ChatGPT in the way that you're describing, right? And does that transform them into a developer, or are they just a deployer of ChatGPT? And one reading that I had of it was one answer, and the other reading I had of it was another answer. And it matters because if you're a developer, then what the EU is going to want you to do is to register with this new governing body and say, we're a developer, and they'll say, okay, show us your code. It's got to be white box. It's got to be everything that we can see. The stringency that's there is much higher from a deployer. So to me, it wasn't super clear when you got down to the brass tacks, what they would consider to be in and out of that circle, but they do make that distinction.
So thank you very much. I really appreciate all the Q&A, but we're going to need to move on in order to get our business section done before the end of the hour. So thanks very much, Brad. Wonderful conversation. I'll do another thank you before we end, but I do want to give a little bit of time to Keith. Our title sponsor is AdvancedNet Labs. Keith, I don't think we have time for a demo this month. So maybe we do the beta with the board this month, and then we do something next month. So can you talk a little bit about what it is that you're gifting and how people are going to access it and all that good stuff?
Yeah, for sure. I think, and in fact, I can would you like to drop the link in the chat for the beta?
Sure. Well, I can do that if you give me.
Or I can.
If you can put it in your comments in your channel, and I'll pop it up. You were in YouTube before when you left your comment.
Oh, this comment has failed to post. Let me try again.
All right. While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and go through our other partners really quickly. We will be doing March, June, September, and December events with Augusta High Tech, our new gold partner. We are having events in Dallas and Houston with Elevate IT, and you can register using AITP 25. I think it's set up now. Maybe the Dallas one is set up. It may not be set up yet, but keep that and we'll be going on. You can go to CruiseCon with a 20% discount if you just contact me or Casey Yarborough if you have him as a friend on LinkedIn, and we'll give you the code. Emily, as our new member, we're really excited about her being here. She provides a business that assists small businesses to empower them to reach their customers effectively. JobSeeker Pro at jobseeker.pro/AITP. You can get a download of information, and I think it's even a small class from him. I'll provide a cultural maturity model assessment for you. You just contact me. And Akshay, you want to talk a little bit about what we do with Boomer Jacks and other places that you go?
Yeah, so we plan to host our quarterly events. So this year we'll be hosting on 4th Thursday of February, May, August, and November. So we would like to invite everybody who's listening to this to come and join us for the happy hour, where we can network with your peers and get to meet the AITP members and our champions.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Akshay. All right, Keith, sorry, I don't see a comment. So I'm guessing that we're going to have to go and do a post tomorrow.
Yeah, it's in your private chat. I don't know if you can move it.
Oh, in my private chat.
But thank you. Yes, we have a draft of the AITP portal up for members. You can go to the link that'll either come out now or we'll circulate it out for you to self-register, and then we can get that approved. And right now you can start taking courses in these different pathways that lead to AITP certificates and certificates from other providers. And we're actually starting to work on our certification paths too, including one in entrepreneurship and one as an IT specialist. So we'll have that circulated to the members, how you can just a link for you to sign up, and then you can get in and start taking the training. Proud to announce today on our award-winning platform. So our work is built on Cornerstone on Demand, the world's largest corporate training platform. And Cornerstone just gave us an award for workforce agility. We got a Galaxy Award for that. So some of the top
Congratulations.
companies. Yeah, thank you. We're super excited. So we'll get that link out to folks. But we're ready to start the meeting.
I've just posted in, hang on, it's posting as we speak. I posted the link at AITP Lone Star Facebook, and I think it goes to YouTube as well, but it doesn't go to all of the things. So, but one of the hacks is if you take a picture of this and then go to pictures, you can grab that URL and go to the URL. All right. Thank you very much. I think we are right on the bubble. So let me flash forward through to the end here. Sorry, Brad. Brad, fabulous conversation tonight. As usual, you really outdid yourself. Phenomenal knowledge share on all things AI. Really appreciate you. Look forward to your participation as we continue going through the year this year. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you for including me.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you for including me.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. You did a wonderful job, and I think shared some information that is groundbreaking. So next month, the third Thursday is February 20th at 7 o'clock, and Manish Misri, who's the CTO at TechBridge, is going to be talking about pioneering technical advances for humanitarian impact. Manish and Amir and Keith and I actually worked together at Aid Matrix many years ago, and so it's a real pleasure to get together with all these guys and see the wonderful things they're doing. So he's going to talk about primarily the things that he's been doing with TechBridge to help nonprofits All right. Well, I really appreciate everybody coming out tonight. It is 8:00, and as is our practice, it's time to say good night and God bless.
Good night.
Good
See
night.
you
Bye,
later.
everyone.
Bless everyone.
Thank
Night,
you.
guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.